today's guest is proof that sometimes the smartest thing you can do is disappoint your parents a little bit. And Pooja, you were raised in a family of doctors, so I think naturally coming from where you do, building a global beauty brand is maybe not what they had expected of you. But you are the founder of Makiaj. And this company went from one artist to a full scale team. You had clients all over the world. You might recognize her even from Bravo's show Dancing Queens, where you also somehow, despite being an incredible makeup artist running this global brand, balanced doing ballroom dancing, business, motherhood, all the things. So I'm very excited to chat with you today about who you are, how you got to where you are, and chasing a dream that might not be exactly what you had thought for yourself, but you did it anyway. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alan, for having me here. I'm excited to share my story a bit more and just have some really amazing, candid conversation. No questions are off the table, so please
Hey,
ask me anything.
Perfect. So for those of you who don't know, one of the things that you are most well known for is your incredible light products. So I think anybody who's been on the internet recently, you've seen all of the lights that people use when they're creating content. I mean, I myself, if you guys are watching this, I have the cheapo little one that I got off of Amazon. But I was just telling Pooja that, with these products, you get what you pay for. And this is something that I've used over and over again, and it's just continuing to fail for me. And I want to level up the creation that I'm doing. I always want to get the best products. I'm a firm believer, like buy once, cry once. So I would love to hear how you went from working as a makeup artist to building this global beauty brand. Like if you can give us sort of the 2-minute stump speech of A to Z.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, in a tight-knit South Asian community, and always had a love for art and beauty since I was a little girl. And then at the age of 17, moved to Arizona and just wanted to pursue so much art, makeup, and I applied to work for MAC Cosmetics around the time when I was also getting my pre-med degree because I wanted to make sure that I made my parents comfortable and proud of the choices I was making. But, on the side, I was like, rebelling. And on the weekends, I'd go and work for MAC and they'd be like, oh, what is this? They'd kind of scoff at it. Oh, I hope that's just a hobby. That's not going to be your full-time thing. And over about 4 or 5 years of working there, towards the end of it, my parents were like, all right, time to ship you off to medical school, and I was like, no. I really want to do makeup. Anyway, so I rebelled like in typical Pooja fashion, and I went off to Paris, France at the age of 25, and I went and studied in Paris for hair and makeup, and hence the word maquillage. So maquillage means makeup in French. I came back and started building my bridal empire of wanting women to look and feel beautiful on their wedding day. So really understood makeup, and then I needed to understand marketing. And so I needed to take my own photos. And this was at a time when social media was just starting to take off, 2012, 2013. And I was like, wow, the makeup looks like this in real life. How come I can't make it look like this in a photo? And then lighting came into the sphere of what I was doing. And I started to fall in love with, okay, makeup is great, but if I could take a better photo, then I can get the better higher end clients. And it all kind of mixed together. People were begging me in 2018, 2019, Pooja, how are you getting your photos to look like that? Like mine still look dull and dark. How come yours looks bright, airy, and like luxury and sophisticated? But I didn't want to tell anybody because at that time it was like competition over community. In 2020, my whole mindset changed and I decided, no, it's community over competition. And I'm finally going to share what it is I'm using. So in 2020, came out with the first light, the original, and there's been no turning back for the last 6 years. I've spent all of my time, money, and energy pouring into product development. And it's been exciting. It's like one little product after the other. And now we've got the mini light on the market and we're living that now, living and breathing that brand.
Well, we love a girl's girl on this podcast. So thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge. And
yes.
Yeah, I think the game has really changed in content creation where people are instead of gatekeeping the information, almost making entire empires around being the person that explains how you do it and
Mhm.
how you get to the top. And I think we're starting to value that transparency over this perfectly curated, perfectly packaged thing. And if you can balance both, if you are somebody that's coming to the game, wow, 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 and saying, hey, I just, I always like to use this term, like, I know how to slap lipstick on a pig. Let me teach you the secrets.
Mm.
Those are the creators that are getting rewarded because people feel like, okay, hey, they're helping me win too.
Mhm.
And, I love what you said about, community over competition because it's so hard when you're in the industry, when you're fighting for what feels like
Ah,
this finite amount of money, finite amount of space to say, well, why am I going to give my secrets away? Why am I going to help that person? Because then there's not enough room for me. But once you get rid of that scarcity mindset,
yeah.
you realize there's more than enough for everybody and nobody can be you and have your unique perspective. So what was that shift for you? Because you mentioned it was in 2020, which, we're probably smack dab in the middle of COVID. Where did the light switch turn on for you?
Literally and figuratively, right? Where did the light switch turn on? In 2020, I found out I was pregnant with my second child, and it was around the time that COVID had come here. And I finally just realized that, like, in order for me to grow to the person I want to be and the success that I wanted to be able to have, I really needed to take others with me. And I couldn't leave them down there. I had to bring them with me. And I've noticed the more people I try to bring on my journey and make successful too, the more success I've been able to experience. And it sounds hard because that switch almost feels like, whew, I'm going to let go, and give. And that letting go and giving has probably been one of the main areas in which my mindset has shifted. And from there, I feel like it has just incrementally. How can I help this person? How can I help with education? My entire social media now for the light is about educating, and I don't charge a dollar to educate anybody. I'm not pushing the product down people's throats. You got to buy, you got to buy. This is how to use this product to get the best possible photos and videos.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, the more you help, almost the better it is for you if you're looking at it even just from a sheerly selfish perspective of I love having successful friends. I love having people who are out winning because that's only a better reflection on me.
Yep,
And I love to surround myself with women in particular who say my name in a room full of opportunity. And I
absolutely.
want to be that for them. And when I have a friend who comes back from an event and goes, oh my God, I found this great person that's a connection for you.
Yeah.
Nothing is better than that. And that sort of friendship and, community and lifting each other up, it only comes back 100-fold. I truly believe that. So I would love to hear how you went from having a family who's probably traditional Indian family full of doctors. Your sisters, work in the medical field. Um, how did you get the courage to step away from that original path? Because I think a lot of people find so much pressure from their family, and being an Indian family, there's I think even more so. And where did you find the bravery to say, hey, I'm my own person. I want to do my own thing, and this might frustrate my family, but there's only one life and I gotta live it.
That's a great question. If I can like reflect back to like, being raised, I'd say all of my nannies and my babysitters and anybody who ever looked after me would be like, she kind of wouldn't take no for an answer. If we told her it's bedtime, you get broccoli, you get this, it was like, no, that's not what I want. I want this. And I kind of found my way. Now, if I could go back to that moment where it was like, I think I was always more curious than I was fearful. And the curiosity wouldn't stop for me. It was like, I'm the middle out of three girls. And it was like the rebellion was just part of my nature growing up. It was like, how can I do this and do it differently? How can I stand out? It was like all my friends were going off to medical school, law school, and I'm standing there and I'm like, I'm working for Mac, and then hopefully things work out for me in Paris, And my parents were like, oh my gosh, like, you need an actual like degree. This isn't going to work. They came from India to live the American dream. And for them, they felt perhaps that I was moving backwards because in India, service providers are the ones doing the hair and makeup. They're going to people's homes. They're not at the top of the degree chain, let's say. So they're like, we came all the way to America and this is what you want to do? I still remember.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'll make you guys proud. Trust me.
Well, I think it's easy to look back on it now being successful and saying, well, this was worth it. But how did you, in the moment where you hadn't quote unquote made it yet, and you're seeing everybody head off to medical school, everyone do that traditional path where okay, I'm going to make this amount of money, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to have this societal position and respect, and to be in the moment where you say, I'm gonna get there, just wait. I think it's easy, and that's where most people quit. And most people say, okay, I'm gonna do the safe path. I'm gonna listen to my parents. Maybe they had the right idea. What kept you motivated?
I'm just a never give up type of person. And there were really hard moments in there. I grew up doing a lot of yoga. And I don't know if I can juxtaposition this, but they always tell you to find your edge. And so I'm constantly searching for that edge. And to give up before you reach the edge, it's like, well, what did you do in the class then? Did you just were you passive, or were you active?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a activeness and a really dreamy mindset that a little delusional that I always believed I was going to get there. So I was going to get there. And I think the moments that were really hard for me, I would call my mom and be like, I need some guidance, or I need some this, or I need some that. And she would give it to me and she'd be there for me. I think she really started to believe in me after those first few years and was like, all right, she's chosen this, And she's my rebellious daughter that just needs a little bit of support. I think what you were speaking about, though, is why people quit early. Because they're afraid of being uncomfortable. I think humans are designed to be comfortable. I think pain is one of the worst things humans can feel, whether it's psychic pain, emotional pain, energetic pain. So people stop, It's like, oh, this wasn't for me. It is. It is for you if you stay in it for long enough.
Were you somebody who, I always like to use the word a multi-potentialite? So somebody who's good and interested in a lot of things, or was it always sort of makeup and beauty focused for you? Because that's, I think, another point where people get stuck. And I find myself getting stuck in that. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of different diverse interests. And so sometimes when I come up against pressure points or difficult times, I say, okay, well, this just isn't the thing for me. And I have all these other things I'm interested in. Let me pursue that. So now I'm just jack of all trades, master of none. And I really envy people who say, okay, clear vision. I knew this was it from the beginning.
I think what you just said brings a light bulb moment to me. I think being the jack of all trades today in 2026 is one of the most lethal qualities you can have right now in business. I think...
Clip it, guys, clip it.
I think it's one of the most lethal qualities because right now there is a need to be able to understand inside and out every part of business, especially as a female founder. You have to know a little bit of math. You have to know a little bit of art. You have to know how to put a reel together. You have to be able to look at your books. You have to be able to lead a team. You have to be able to inspire others. You have to have enough time on your own to be able to innovate the next product. There's so many areas. This is where being the jack of all trades is, it couldn't come at a better time. I mean, yes, maybe 15, 20 years ago, it was master one thing, master one thing. I don't think life allows us to master one thing anymore. I think there's a reason we don't need to master just one. We need to be able to see it all and then choose what it is we love doing the most and then pursue that area.
I am with you. I came from, parents where my mom always believed in my big, crazy dreams. But she was somebody who just picked something,
Hmm.
and she was great at it, but could have done a million things.
Hmm.
And my mom passed away when she was 50 years old, and I really mourn for her the loss of potential, the loss of being able to sort of chase those things that she would have been incredible at. And my dad was the same thing. Hey, just pick something, stick with it, put your head down. And I'm like, do you even know me?
Yeah.
Nothing about me says become an accountant. Okay. Like, it's just not gonna happen. And so yeah, I am with you, and I'm trying to lean in at this chapter of my life and saying, hey, all of those different paths that I took, all of those different things I learned have led me to where I am and why I'm good at what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And it gives you perspective.
Hmm.
But you're right, it's very easy to get distracted and to say, okay, let me just pick the one safe thing.
Hmm.
What inspired you when it came to makeup? Where did that, were you always the girly girl playing with it growing up, or was it something where you had an aha moment of, wow, I'm great at this and I want to see where it goes?
The beauty started for me with this really dark, deep shadow inside of not feeling beautiful or seen enough. So, for example, I was part of a big Indian community, and my genetics and God in the universe gave me darker skin than all of my
Mm-hmm.
friends. And in India, there's this concept that the more fair you are, the more beautiful you are. And so
Right.
I was raised into this community, and it was like, well, she's not as beautiful as the others because she's darker than everybody else. So I had that working against me. And then being sandwiched between the three sisters, I was like, I don't feel seen. I'm not the oldest, I'm not the youngest, I'm the middle. I felt overlooked. So then there's the second thing, right? Not being light enough, then feeling overlooked. And then growing up, I suffered from terrible acne and skin conditions. And I was like, this is just terrible. Like, I was like, I'm going to make everybody who sits in my chair feel beautiful and look beautiful, but more feel beautiful. Because, they always say, like, beauty is like the way you look, let's say, right? But beauty is really the way you feel. And I know this for a fact because when I work on my clients, even if I don't give them a mirror, halfway through, their posture has changed and they don't even know what they look like
Mm-hmm.
because they know they already know because they feel beautiful. So for me, it was such an inward dark shadow that was like, oh, this is so painful. I'm going to paint the whole world in the most beautiful way possible. And for me, that was connecting with women and helping women feel something that I was missing inside, that self esteem, being able to show up, being seen. And a lot of the light ties into being seen in a crazy way because the makeup was one layer, but then the light is like such a powerful juxtaposition of like, once you turn the light on, you're going to be seen. It's like part of it. So,
That's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And it's interesting how culturally we see things. Because I'm hearing you talk about, obviously I have friends who come from, Asian communities, and this idea of darker skin being something that's seen as less beautiful, while in the Western side of the world, all we're doing is trying to make ourselves darker to be more beautiful. I mean, the amount of hours that I've spent in my life, like
Fanning.
days taken away, browning myself because everyone looks at like, oh God, you're so pale.
Yeah.
It's just this crazy thing of we want what we can't have or what we don't
Yeah.
have. And I think as women, it's almost on purpose to make us feel less than, because it's stopping us from keeping our eye on the prize.
Hmm.
And if we can busy women with feeling bad about ourselves and trying to fix that,
Hmm.
then it keeps us from taking somebody else's job, taking somebody else's opportunity, from seeing that the world maybe is not being built or prepared or giving us a platform to fully realize ourselves. And I think we're peeking behind the curtain at Oz now.
Yeah.
And I think social media has really done that for women, where we realize, wow, we can reach a huge audience.
Mm.
We can make our own money. We can create our own businesses.
Yeah.
And we don't need anybody else's help. And then the more women are talking about the way that we feel and the way that we perceive ourselves and realizing that this is all just like a social construct that we've created.
Yeah.
We're not dressing for men, we're dressing for women, we're putting
Yeah.
on the makeup for other women, and like just how crazy this is. And if we can all just sit and like be like, hey, I love a full beat. I love to be beautiful, but I don't need to do this to go out and
Yeah.
have my armor on. This is
Absolutely.
fun. This should be fun.
Absolutely.
And I love, what you said about having the light like bring things into the light, because it's so true. And for women to really be able to fully step, I'm going to get real feminist here, but like step into your full power, see yourself completely, not hiding in the shadows. Hey, this is who I am. It allows us to really step into a new chapter of who we are. And I think motherhood does that for you. Getting older does that for you.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how you think motherhood has changed you and how it has helped you or hindered you in your business, because as a fellow business owner, I know that it's a juggling act always.
Well, I'd say that both of my children brought a wild amount of uncertainty and then success into my life. I feel like after the birth of both kids were some of my biggest moments as a business owner. Things really took off for me after I had my first child. And I a little bit was survival mode because I'm like, wow, I've really gotta make some money now to take care of this kid. Like it's real now. I'm not just taking care of myself. I'm taking care of this child. And the second part of it was, what better way to teach them than to show them? So if they watched me, they would learn instead of me telling them to do something. And I rarely tell them to do stuff. They just watch. They watch what I'm doing. They watch how I'm juggling. They watch how I'm compartmentalizing my day to be able to have, be able to fill every single bucket. And so I laugh because I'm like, both these kids brought me so much success the year after I gave birth to them. I'm like, how many other kids am I going to have here? Like, we joke about it a lot in here.
Right.
Like third, fourth, fifth, like what can I do with all these kids bring in the Indian culture? Kids bring auspicious, they're a very auspicious gift from God in our culture. And each one that comes brings with it success. So I know sometimes in the Americanized culture, it's like these kids take money from us and they are a
Totally.
liability.
Other way around completely. It's like these children are draining me
Yes.
emotionally and realistically.
In the Indian culture, they are seen as auspicious and they bring luck to the family and they bring money and they bring abundance. Specifically female children, girl children, they bring to the
Wow,
family.
that's what I was going to ask. If it's, do male children do that? Is it female children? Are they seen the same? Because, depending
Female.
on what culture you're coming from, that changes.
Female. It's called like Lakshmi energy, which is one of our goddesses in the Hindu religion. And it's very auspicious. These girls coming into the family, they bring a lot of financial success. And so I joke because I'm like, I have two boys. I wonder what
Love
would
to hear
happen if I had a
it.
girl. No, but really being a business owner and being a woman and a founder of two companies and being able to raise children has been very challenging, and it has required me to stay very focused and put aside being comfortable all the time. Having children has made me realize that being uncomfortable is okay and it won't kill you, and that you can persevere and make it through, gives you the grit required.
Yeah, one of the other guests that I interviewed, a girl named Taylor Capuano, and she's the co-founder of Cake's Body.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just talking on social media the other day about a book that she read where she's like, we need to make ourselves uncomfortable more
Mm-hmm.
and realize that we can do hard things. And whether the hard things are actual physical manual labor or pushing ourselves up to the brink of being uncomfortable and existing in that discomfort,
Yeah.
like we're creating a world where all the discomfort is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Where we constantly have our headphones on, not needing to listen to any outside noise. You know, we have social media constantly every second of our day, so we don't need to actually listen to our brains.
Yeah.
We have people to help clean our house, cook our food, lift our things. Like
Yeah.
we're creating a life of comfort, and that's not a bad thing,
Hmm.
but realizing that we're also capable of doing those things and doing them every once in a while is a nice
Absolutely.
reminder of our humanity. Um, and I completely agree with you with kids being sort of that great equalizer and pushing you to the limit of where you thought you could go, and then realizing that, okay, I woke up another day, I didn't die.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I am going to,
I feel
and they're going to drive me crazy. I'm going to throw myself off the balcony. But you realize like the sun rises again, and the little kids are such a great representation of that. Do you think that you are a better business owner because you have children, because you're a mother?
I've learned to listen to others more after having kids. I feel like I only understood my narrative for a long time. After having kids, you know, when kids talk, they talk kind of slowly because their development isn't all together, right? So
It
they're
drives
they're
me crazy.
scattered. They're so scattered when they talk, and it's like the cutest thing because it's like they'll eventually grow up and have really clear trains of thought. It's so special and magical watching a child try to get their like thoughts across. Like I have one 5 year old and one 10 year old. And the 5 year old, you just kind of look at him and wonder, and you're like, wow, I really need to build patience to be able to listen to this story, you know? And working with my team has made me a more patient person in that aspect because of that, because of his, you know, the storytelling is a little slower. It makes me kind of have more patience. So having more patience for me is important because I think one of my big shadows is reactivity. And it's something that has made me really amazing in business, but sometimes has thrown me off balance in business when I react too fast or I have too much of a gut feeling and I act on it and I don't sit back and say, okay, let's just give this 24, 48 hours to mull over. So kids are kids are amazing. Women, I feel like the women who have kids learn a different perspective about themselves. They learn that they're not first. And I think that selflessness, it drives through everything that they do, including business. Like business is not about that person and that person becoming big. It's about what happens to that woman during the transformation of building a business. The business changes the woman for good or for bad. Depends on how you take it, but it changes the woman. And building community
Right.
is really not about the founder. It's about everybody else that you bring in.
Well, I'm with you, and I think this is sound very stereotypical, but it opens your eyes.
Yeah.
And I feel like I spent so much of my life in a tunnel vision of what I wanted to do. And I always make the argument with my husband. I'm like, I'm not selfish, I'm self-focused. And I've had to be that way because it's almost a defense mechanism. I'm also a middle child. I grew up, I didn't have
Wow.
my mom, you know, I didn't have any woman to really teach me
Okay.
how to do and live and exist, you know, in this world. And so it was this tunnel vision of get to the goal, get to this place I wanted to be. And being a mom, it's caused me, like you said, to slow down, but it's also just opened my eyes to the rest of the world. Like I didn't see people's children before. I didn't see a child playing on the street. I didn't see that little bug on the sidewalk that my children see. I wasn't
Look.
listening to the birds chirping in the air. Exactly. And in the beginning, it was uncomfortable. I hated to
Yeah.
stop on the side of the road when I'm just trying to get to the grocery store with the kid in the stroller, and they're like, Mom, look at this. And
Yeah.
my
What?
husband is really great at that. And yeah, like he's reminded me to pause and stop and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it was uncomfortable in the beginning, but now it's this beautiful thing of I feel like I'm reliving my childhood and
Yeah.
reliving this whole experience of perceiving the world. And I think you're able to extend that into your business too, because you see why your employees do the things that they do, why people interact the way that they do. Like they're living life for the first time as well. And it gives you an empathy that I don't think you can get really in any other way.
Nope. 100% agree with you.
I would love to hear from a makeup artist's perspective, maybe some tips and tricks for people looking and feeling their best. What's something I could do to look 20% better with minimal effort? What would be the first thing that would come to mind?
What comes to mind is I've always noticed that most of our face is our skin, right? We just have these like eyes and then the mouth, even the nose is considered skin. So I'd say some of the most important things is like really great skincare and really, really good foundation that gives you youth back to the skin. So a beautiful, finished, glowy kind of foundation, matte if you are more on the oily side. I love a good lash curler and a great mascara. I think it does wonders to the eyes. I feel like a lash curler is like a push-up bra, like it just creates this like upward kind of dynamic because as we age and as we get older, features start to come downward, right? So we've got this aging starts to move, everything starts to move downwards. And so really kind of skincare, foundation, a great lash curler, and I'd say just a lip that feels lived in always feels like it's a little bit of an upgrade without being dramatic. I think the whole aesthetic has moved towards this natural, clean girl aesthetic. And I think people take it too literally that like you need to be wearing nothing. But I think it is about wearing something that makes you just look brighter, like you slept 8 to 9 hours and you look open, you look radiant, and it doesn't look like you're wearing a lot of makeup.
Well, aside from a maquillage light, of course, what is a beauty product that's expensive but you think is 100% worth the money?
I recently bought the MPH Mary Phillips foundation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. And it's called La Skin. It was about $50 to $60. It's an amazing foundation. Actually, I'm wearing it right now. I think that combined with my beauty light gives this look that, okay, I can't tell where she's wearing makeup and where she's not wearing makeup. It's really that good. Worth every penny.
Yeah, I'm with you. Finding the right foundation for you, and I've really tried everything.
Yeah.
And I always go back to the same one. And I just need to also realize sometimes when you find something that works,
Yeah.
if it's not broke, don't fix
Yeah.
it. And that's, I think, a problem that we run into. Like we can try new things, but you get crazy going down. Maybe something can be better. It can be better. It Sometimes you found the one that works for you. And I know at this point, I'm like, I will keep trying new things just for fun, but I'm not going to drive myself crazy looking for that like next biggest and
Perfect
greatest
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what you think people overspend on, but actually doesn't
Eyeshadow.
matter. I love that. You're right, because you can go into a drugstore, pick up a relatively pigmented eyeshadow, slap it on, and it's marginally different.
I'll use my contour
from,
for my eyeshadow. I don't think in the last 7 or 8 years, just in doing bridal makeup, I bought an eyeshadow palette. I use the same Patrick Ta palette. You can create beautiful eye look with just that. And if I can do that as a bridal makeup artist and I'm going and doing 200 weddings a year within my team, you at home don't need more than 6 shadows. Don't need it. And shadows last so long. I'm working every single weekend on at least 4 to 5 women and I still have my shadow palette. So I think that's a really over-consumed product. Unfortunately, I feel like people...
I'm with you. I think it's also it's a moneymaker for
Yeah.
these big artists who, oh my God, you have to have my palette that has 24 different colors. And I'm like, never in my life have I used 24 different colors.
Yeah, exactly. I like
So
what you're
it's
wearing.
crazy.
You're wearing like a taupey color.
The first makeup artist that ever worked on me, she is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. It was the first moment where, like you said, I looked in the mirror and felt beautiful for the first time in my life. I always felt like, oh, maybe I got the potential to be pretty. And when I sat down in her chair, had my makeup done, and looked in the mirror, my entire life changed.
Yeah.
It was this aha moment of, oh my God, I can look like
Yeah,
that
you don't believe
and I
it.
can feel like
Mm.
this. The power that it was like someone lit a fire under my ass and changed my perspective on life.
Yes.
And I think other people might say, okay, well, this is so superficial. How is the way that you look the defining moment of your life? And it wasn't. It was
Hmm.
realizing that these things that I thought were unattainable, this feeling that I was always chasing, it could be there.
Yep.
And it's as simple as putting on a full face and looking good and the armor of makeup and beauty and, emphasizing your best assets.
Absolutely.
And she just recommended this little tiny, teeny, tiny little palette. And I told her, I said, look, I probably need 4 colors
Yeah.
in my eyeshadow palette.
You're right.
Like, I never deviate from these same ones.
Yeah.
I just need these. And she goes, all right, this is the teeny, tiny little palette to get. And I don't think I'll buy anything ever again.
Yeah.
And
That's it. That's all you
I'm
need.
with you. I think that's one of those things that is so overdone. And of course, if you're a makeup junkie, go out, get all the things that's fun for you. But yeah, for the average person who's trying to look for something that's practical for
Yeah.
them, I think
Eyeshadow.
way, way overdone.
Yeah.
Is there one drugstore product that you swear by that you say, okay, this is my end all be all? See, I am feeling personally victimized by this. Everybody loves this mascara. Couldn't be me. It must be my eyelashes. It does not work for me.
I'd say that
Oh, that's a better brush than the old one.
you're using,
I
I
would
know
say
which
the
one
little.
you're using. You need to buy this one. This one's called Lots of Lashes, and it's in very black. Now, the reason I love this one is because it's got a pointed tip up here so that you can get into the inner
The
corner.
tapers down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Oh, I
not,
love
it's not
this.
going everywhere. Now, you know how I rate my mascaras? How easy it is to take off at the end of the night. Because mascara is
Love
one of the hardest things to remove, even if it's not waterproof. I find that it makes my eyes like bloodshot red when I try to take it off at the end of the night. It really is annoying. And I noticed that this doesn't flake and it's not super expensive. I can keep buying them and I love the way my lashes look when I wear this.
Since we are in the creator space, there's a lot of comparison that goes on. And I'm sure that you've experienced that in business, probably as a makeup artist, as a creator yourself. What is something that you wish more people understood before comparing themselves to these celebrities that they see online? These celebrities that they think are so perfect and their lives are amazing and their skin is amazing and their makeup is amazing. What's something that is the peek behind the curtain that being that celebrity makeup artist?
It's not what it seems. You don't know how long that person has been working to get to where they are at. Unless you know their whole backstory, there's no way to understand what that person has put in to get there. And most people are only sharing their highlight reel. It's not until just the last couple years where people have started to become vulnerable on social media. And it's because people are missing the realness of what it takes to do something or to build something or to be influential or popular or a big creator with a lot of numbers, And I think you touched on it in the beginning when you said that, creators are, it's not all what it seems. And creators are starting to, wanting to go back to authenticity and connection. And so it really isn't all what it seems. There's so much that goes behind that. And as people, it is hard to be vulnerable and to talk about the real moments that are actually happening. And I think the creators that talk about the real moments while building something beautiful are the creators and the influencers and the founders that are actually going to grow in a rapid sense because they're going to be so different than all of these other ones that are still trying to prove that everything's perfect when it's not.
As a makeup artist, what is something that you feel like social media has distorted people's expectations of what's realistic?
Skin. skin, the skin being perfect. And I think that there have been some creators who've been calling out, this is my skin, and this is my skin in bad lighting. This is my skin without 10 filters on top. And so those people are starting to become more popular because it's like, oh, wow, like my skin isn't actually perfect. And everywhere I look, people are filtering their skin, people are photoshopping it. And that's where light comes in. I'm going to give you a little example here, right? I've got the light on, I've got the light off here. So I've got some overhead lights on in my room. But if you can see here, you can't see any of the dimension of my makeup, and you're actually going to be able to see some of my under eye circles immediately. But with just a little bit of light, all of that gets diminished and evened out, you know?
This is the perfect segue to somebody who has used your product and spoken about it recently, Michaela Nagara.
Hmm.
And she has gone through some controversy. She just did the Hannah Montana reunion premiere, and people were talking about she doesn't look anything like she does in her videos, and all of this is fake. And I saw those videos and instantly said, God, the girl's just got bad lighting. And anybody who's worked in the industry knows like lighting is
Everything.
everything, and the angle with which you are lighting yourself, if you're lighting yourself from the bottom or from the top.
Mhm.
Like, I used to work at the QVC channel.
Yes.
I was a beauty model, and the lighting that we had there, it was like being in a giant hot box. Everything is completely blown out because it just makes everything
Look
look
better.
perfect.
Yeah.
But if you're offset where there's fluorescent overhead lighting
Yeah. Forget
and
it.
it's the wrong angle, like of course you're going to look
Yeah.
terrible. And so you're looking at this video of her where maybe it's not her good side. She's wearing a wig, a very obvious wig. The lighting's not
Hmm.
great. You know, maybe the posture's not there. It has nothing to do with the way that this girl looks in real
Hmm.
life, which is, I mean, I think you get what you get with her. She's very honest, she's very transparent,
Absolutely.
but of course she's going to present herself as a beauty creator with the best, most beautiful lighting. And I'm always the person to say, like, you are as beautiful as your best picture.
Yeah.
The best way that you can make yourself look with lighting and makeup and all, that's the way that you look. And we just love to tear people apart of, well, you don't look like that every second of the day. Like, I mean, go kick rocks. Like,
Yeah.
lighting matters. The way you present yourself matters. And I think we're really creating this unrealistic idea of people have to float through the world looking like an effervescent angel all the time for us to say like, okay, well, yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah. To touch on that, I think Michaela is really, I think she's really a genius, to be honest. And I say genius in the sense where she has accumulated such a following on being vulnerable, telling her story, and sharing a lot of her life and beauty tips, and now creating a skincare line and being open, vulnerable, and chaotic and funny and all of it in between. It's like the best movie, right? It's like it takes you through a little bit of sadness, a little bit of like fear, a little bit of drama. You don't know how it's going to end. It goes up, the storyline comes down, you get new characters. The woman is, you see her glow up, come from being an ordinary girl, and then she gets married in the movie and she looks like a princess. And I think that the best creators are taking you along in the chaos, in the heart, in the belly of the emotions of that creator. And I think that's how creators stand the test of time. And whether people think it's funny, not funny, she shouldn't have looked that way, she's saying she looks one way when she looks another, that's part of the storyline. I think she's one or two or maybe even 10 steps ahead of everybody on the internet. And it was really amazing for her to authentically share this light. She doesn't have to do that. She wanted to do it because she genuinely loves it. And it adds so much more credibility to influencers, to artists, to founders like that, because it's like, I really connect with this product. I really love it. I want to share it.
Yeah. Well, I think, people always make the joke like, shh, my show's on. And that's how it is with her content and a
Perfect.
lot of creators that I really love. It's like
Yes, my show is on.
I want to sit down and yeah,
So
I'm
true.
not like the voyeuristic type of consumer where I want to watch a streamer live their
Sure.
life, but I love to have a tiny bit of a parasocial relationship. Like my close personal friend Alex Earl, like I love hearing the recap of what,
Yeah.
she did last night and how she was partying like because it's fun. I'm in a different chapter of my life now, but I remember what it was like to be in college, go to
Yeah.
a frat party, like have fun, wake up with my makeup still on, like it's nice to follow along and feel like
Yeah.
you're experiencing something with them.
She's a
And
storyteller.
when
She's
they're
a genius.
show yeah, and like when you see the rough edit, so to speak, you also are realizing that you're waking up with like your kid's sticker stuck to your head and like one boob's hanging out, the other boob's going here. Like that's just
It's
life.
real. It's real. And I think for me, she's genius marketing because people talk about her, the people that may feel, um, negatively about her, talk about her just as much as the people who love her. That's when you know
Yeah.
that this following and the audience that she has is so committed and loyal, whether they feel negatively or positively. That's like, yeah, my show is on. Absolutely, she's a genius in that regard.
Because you've been behind the scenes and you are part of the team of like a celeb beauty secret,
Mm.
what are other things that celebrities are doing that we have no idea of that are making them maybe just look that much better, but it's outside the realm of like what us mere mortals are doing every day?
Other than just, photoshopping and having endless amounts of money to be able to have facials and do this and do that, I think there's a little bit of biohacking going on. So, right now in the health and wellness industry, which directly affects beauty, glow, and face, as you know, there's peptides now. There's GLP-1s where people are able to go from a size 8 to a size 6 within like 3 weeks or 4 weeks now, right? And while that's available to everybody, that is one of the things, being able to lighten up, getting better sleep. They've got this compression. They're doing the Normatec. They've got, you know, endless facials, hydrofacials, and then I want to say peptides, the laser treatments that they're getting. Um, that's all non-makeup related, has nothing to do with makeup, but it makes it so that when they go to put on a very simple foundation like Maybelline, they're like, oh, it's the Maybelline foundation that made me so pretty. And it's like, it's not the Maybelline foundation, it's the peptides that you took. And now peptides are being injected. So you're going to get delivery of that peptide within 24 hours. So those things are like cell turnover like crazy, recovery like crazy. And people are glowing from the inside out with biohacking. And then they're calling it makeup. Okay, kind of.
Aside from maybe the biohacking, what's something that you think is going to be the next big thing in the beauty landscape? What's something that's like on the horizon that's maybe come across your desk, but you haven't seen it as much, on social media? What's the next trend? What should we invest in early?
That's a great question. I think obviously lighting is one of them. I think lighting in the space of makeup is so different because it's not an actual considered a makeup tool, but it's like an extension of makeup. So I'd say investing in really good lighting is obviously one of them. And I'd like to think that I'm on the cutting edge for that because it creates a flawless like filter without having to add more makeup on your face. Um, I think what we're really going to be seeing a lot more of is innovative foundations that have skincare built into them. I know we're already seeing that. House Labs, La Skin. There's even Natasha Denona has a High Glam foundation. High Glam foundation, yeah, that has skincare inside. But I think really formulas of foundation becoming so much more skincare based so that people actually feel good putting foundation on instead of I'm just like putting on a layer of something that's going to cover everything underneath. So I think actually an extension of that is all makeup having that ability, right? Every underlayer of shadow is changing the way that the eyes, the skin on the eyes look over time. I know Hailey Bieber has done that a lot with her peptide lip treatments, right? They're not called lip glosses, they're called lip treatments. And so everything's going to have a very like anti-aging kind of effect to it.
I think that goes back to, what you mentioned about lighting and choosing the good light. Because, as I said, I've got my crappy little Amazon light here, but I'm always nervous that it's going to die. And I'm somebody that's really obsessed with being prepared, especially in beauty situations,
Yes,
or when I want to look my best or when
absolutely.
I want to take photos. And I always panic with content creation of, oh my God, I have to film everything between 11 in the morning until 1 p.m., squeeze it all in because then I don't get the natural light. And being able to recreate that gives me so many more hours in the day, and to be able to work around what my life schedule is, which is hectic. I've got two kids, I've got a dog, I've got a husband, I'm traveling all the time. The comfort that it would give me. So I'm always doing things in a hotel room or on the
Yeah.
go, and when you don't have the right lighting, like, I don't want to put that content out. Like, why do I want it to look ugly when I'm doing my stuff? Like, I'm all for transparency,
Yeah.
but I also want to put my best foot forward.
Yeah, and I think you could be transparent, like start the video without the light and be like, all right, hold up. Because I'm talking to all of you, I feel so much more confident when I look great. So here we go. This is really what I want to say. But we're going to have to get
Yeah,
you a
I'm
light
with you.
ASAP.
Yeah, this one is dying on me. Well, this is the Learn Too Late podcast, and we always like to ask guests, what is something that you think you learned too late in life?
Absolutely. I know exactly what it is because it's right at the top of my mind. I feel like I've been working through this for a long time. So this is what I've learned too late. Don't take other people's ideas, perceptions, gossip, reflection as the standard for who you are. I feel like listening to a lot of other people in life, it's great, but always take everything with a grain of salt and be really cautious about who you ask people like opinions for. I feel like most of the time we know the answer deep down
Mhm.
inside, but either we don't want to hear it or we're not ready to hear it. And so I learned that. I don't want to say I learned it too late because everything happens for a reason, but if I could really go back to 15 years ago, I didn't know who I was enough. And so I would take everyone else's opinion or everyone else's perception of me too much to heart. Like I took it as that's what it really was. And if I could go back, I would really, I would really adjust that part of my psyche and my mindset.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think one of my favorite new quotes that I've seen is, never take advice from someone whose life you don't want to emulate. And the people who are living good lives that are successful and happy, they don't have time to criticize other people. And so the only negative voices that you have in your ear are of somebody who's coming from a place of hurt or a place of lack. That, I think, allows you to let it roll off your back a little bit easier. Like, if you got enough hours in the day to criticize me, you're not busy enough. So, for everyone out there who's, listening to the haters, try to remember that.
Yeah, try to remember. And I love what you said, right? Don't take advice from somebody who, you wouldn't want their life, right? So it's like for
Yeah.
motherhood advice, I'm going to go to a mother to the point where I probably wouldn't even see a therapist who didn't have children. And because they won't know how to connect with me, they won't understand my life. So even when I'm picking a life coach, when I'm picking a this, it's like, I want a woman that is multifaceted enough to understand all levels of who I am, because that's such an intimate relationship, a therapist, a life coach. Um, but yeah, I would say that that's what I learned too late. I learned too late that other people's opinions and reactions and ideas about me are is not the truth. It's not the truth. It's just one sliver of their imagination or mind or concept that's being projected onto you.
Amen, sister. And I love what you said about, we talk a lot about therapy on the
Yeah.
podcast, and you got to find someone who can see from a real lived experience. And I always joke, my therapist has been divorced 3 times, but I'm like, she's seen what doesn't work.
This is a good person.
Maybe maybe I don't ask her for advice on how to not quit stuff. But at the same hand, like she's an older woman. I had to have a woman. I had to have somebody who was later in
Yeah.
life. I needed somebody who's lived a little. I needed somebody who's failed, picked themselves back up,
Yeah.
and can give me insight. So, yeah, I think that's something for the listeners to take home too. Be wise in what therapist you're picking. I don't need a 22-year-old male to try to tell me how to live my life.
Yeah. I liked, Alan, what you touched on just now. Last comment I'd love to make is AI and what you just said in about lived experience. That's something AI will never have or be able to tell us anything about.
Mhm.
And so, really sharing and really going through the process of a lived experience and then being there to tell that story is gold. And so, right now, if you're listening, it's more important to share your lived experience. That's what people want to know. That's what people care about. And that's how to connect with others in your community.
I think that's the perfect place to end. Pooja, thank you so much for sharing your life, your history, your expertise with us. I'm gonna, what do they say? Run, don't walk, and get my light now, and yeah, move on to the next chapter of feeling comfort, knowing that I am putting my best foot forward. And for anybody out there, I'm going to add in the show notes where they can find you on social media, where they can find your incredible products, your makeup, your lights, and yeah, thank you for joining us and sharing your thing you learned too
I
late.
loved it. Thank you for having me here.